Ah, well, it looks like it looks to me like we're back to life on Hump Day, the I'm Liberty Show. Glad to be with you. Glad to be with you, folks. Glad to see everybody in the chat. Man, group's looking good in there. What are the upper limits of the chat? I always wonder this. You know what I mean? You get this idea about, we always tell people, hey, come join the chat. Come join us. Call in live. Join the chat room. Come join the chat. What happens when you get like, I don't know, 30 people in chat? It's no longer a chat, right? Now it's like a nightmare. Oh, Jay Fergie got the link in the room and everything. Right on. Thank you. Well, if you're just listening, if you're not in the chat room, if you're in the chat room, you just got the link to the YouTube live. All right. So hey, what's up? Got the tree in the back. I don't know if you can see little Bowser in the back there. That's my beautiful pit bull back there sleeping. He's like following in the footsteps of my dead pit bull Baxter. Baxter, he used to come down every show, and he was the co-producer of the I Am Liberty show. My man Baxter. It seems like he's long dead and gone, but really this is our first Christmas without him. It's a heartbreaker. So we'll play around with this YouTube live thing, and whatever happens, happens. But I think it'll be really good, so you guys can get an idea of what exactly I'm talking about when we get into some of these gifts. Listen, it's nothing that's really going to blow you away, I don't think. You know, as I look over the things, it's, you know, there's nothing that's going to be like, wow, I never would have thought. But I'm really just trying to toe the line between, the kids menu up. Yeah, that's all outdated. Look at the front camera on this bad boy. I'm surprised at how good the picture looks. That's all outdated, like Halloween stuff, Halloween activities I wanted the kids to participate in with me. You know, carving pumpkins and the like. So, what do we want to start with? Knives, or knife, or I have one piece of decidedly sort of prepper gear that's kind of gadgety. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like something that I typically wouldn't carry. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't think I want to get into this guy because it takes so much unpacking. I'll just show you how it packs. This guy right here is called the Soul Leader, and it looks a little too bright for my camera because I got the light right here. But the Soul Leader was really my first sort of dive into the gasifier wood stoves. You know, the camping stoves. And this guy really blew me away, man. I was really blown away by, you hear it all the time. You know, like you hear it all the time about these stoves that all you have to do is put a little wood in them. And for me, I've always been a gas guy. I've always been a guy who likes to have the gas stove, the rocket stove, that type of thing. I mean, it just, for me, it works. You know, for me, it's always worked. It's one of those things that when you need to call upon it, you could call upon it, you get flame in an instant. And I did a job for a client, this Soul Leader. I guess they were the Soul Leader crew, I'm not sure. But I did a job for them, and it was just a quick review, and they sent me out one of these Soul Leaders. And they said, give it a try. And this is kind of what it packs out of that sort of small pack that I showed you. And this thing weighs just under a pound. It breaks into like several different pieces. And really, like a lot of them you just flip over, and then you put it back in the bag. But this guy's super light. I don't even understand how it can be as good as it is. But it blew me away. It blew me away. Off of a handful of dry sticks, I had fire in no time. And this is one of those sort of benign gifts where, you know, you can talk to people about camping and outdoors. And then you can start to question them about their motivations for how they're going to deal with certain disasters. Or you can talk to them about the fact that, you know, a stove like this works even when there's no electricity. And when there's no electricity, a lot of people, the vast majority of people, are going to need an answer for how to cook food. Like I said, this technology in and of itself really lends itself to discussion about disaster preparedness because of the fact that, well, it has the ability to cook food without fuel outside of just a few sticks. This guy's also designed to use alcohol tabs, which it's just something I don't even deal with. Sol liter. And it's really cheap too. I think it was $20 or something like that, $25. Really inexpensive. But those are the kind of gifts that I'm thinking about. I'll show you another quick and goofy one. But this is one of those things that, it's a camping guy's thing for sure. This one this stasher jacket I actually used one night, God, it was years ago now, when I was out camping with a close friend of mine, and he showed it to me. He lent it to me, actually. And I remember throwing it in my bag, and I haven't seen him since, really, in any kind of way that I would have this thing and give it back to him. And it's one of those. Well, I guess does everybody know what a stasher jacket is? I guess there's a good chance that some people don't even know what a stasher jacket is. What I'm holding is it's like this little black bag. And I'm not going to pull the jacket out, but this thing's about, I don't know, 8 by 3 or 8 by 4, something like that. And there's a raincoat in it. And it's, it's nothing that'll blow you away, but it's a raincoat. And if you don't have a raincoat, it's not a poncho. It's definitely better than your average poncho for sure. It's going to get you further than that. But it's those, like I said, those type of gifts that I want to talk about tonight on the tactical preparedness gift giving sort of edition of the I Am Liberty show. Now, my claim at the beginning of the month was the fact that I was going to do, a bunch of informative podcasts on sort of how to measure yourself and how to better yourself from what happened in 2018, right? And I did a show on prepper metrics. I did a show on how preppers tend to get in their own way. And that was kind of sort of the theme. And then this week I sat down and I said, okay, well, how can I dig even deeper into this idea of, how to improve? I don't want to go over the edge because, of course, I want to do a goals show also. But how do I get sort of drill down deeper into these varying categories or you know what I'm saying. And I'll be completely honest with you. I said to myself, I think I'd be bored if I do another show like that. I think I'll be bored half to death. So I decided let's just forget about that. Let's just forget about that. The I Am Liberty show is going to be live, and it's going to be live just 5 days, 6 days, or whatever before Christmas. And why not? Why not talk a little bit about gift giving? Because we have an incredible ability to give gifts and to change people's minds on how they look at the world. And I don't know that there's anything more powerful, right? You start a person down a path of self-reliance and independence. I don't know that there's a more powerful gift you can give. Aside from turning up when someone doesn't think that you're going to be turning up. But let's digress from the gifts for a moment, because I have a question to ask the folks who are here, and it looks like I've got a great group to ask this question. Now, for those on the YouTube Live, these pouches right here, you see these zipper pouches, the net bag, they cost nothing. You can get these things in all sizes and all colors, and they're by a company, I guess, called Vaults. Can you see that? It's a company called Vaults, V-A-U-L-T-Z. If you want to talk about compartmentalizing and really like organizing the bug out bag, it's really, they're great. They're absolutely phenomenal for it. Here's what I've been thinking. Now, this might be a foolish question, but I've made my living off of asking foolish questions because then I know the answers. and I gain a lot more from the answer than I do the foolish question, right? Everybody knows what's going on here, right? This is something I carry in my bag all the time. 500 pellets, .177 caliber, 4.5 millimeter. And the reason I'm showing you these is because I need advice on something that I've been thinking about. I need advice on something that I've been considering for a long time, and it is the guns that I want to carry, the guns that I want to have available to myself and my family. And as of late, I have been thinking about the air rifle. I've been thinking about the pellet gun, and I've been thinking about the pellet gun over the .22 rifle. I know guns is a tough topic. It's not a topic I really like to talk about. We have a Thursday host who handles guns, and he does a great job with it. That's the Gunmetal Armory tomorrow night, but I'd love for the chat room to give me your thoughts. What are the benefits, right? I guess I don't even really want to go into the weighing of the benefits. And .22 long rifle and the ammunition and the cost versus just the insane affordability and the insane ability to carry so much ammunition with the air rifle, right? I mean, I guess it all depends on, Me Gray says suppressed bolt action .22 with shorts. Now, here's the question, right? This is the question for you, Gray, in the chat room. What is the number one task for you with the suppressed bolt action .22? What's the number one thing that you're going to do with that guy? This is kind of my question, because this is what it all comes down to. I don't know if he's not hearing me. I really want to see a response. I'm not trying to pick you apart or anything. Hunting and teaching. Okay, be more specific on hunting. If you got a suppressed bolt action rifle, are you looking? Because this is where my theory kind of falls apart with the pellet gun, right? My theory tends to fall apart when I start thinking about, well, Sam says varmint hunting, and I think that's reasonable. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. Because I don't know, Flying Dutchman, see this is what I think about. Flying Dutchman's kind of in my wheelhouse, right? Hunting small game, squirrel, rabbit, grouse on the ground. So this sounds really silly, but it's just, I don't know enough about it. What am I just feel really confident in my ability to stop a squirrel, rabbit, grouse with the same air rifle that I have, that I own, that I carry. Well, I don't carry on a regular basis, but so accuracy is a big deal. Okay, that's a good one. Right, that's a good one. That's an argument that makes me think. Bolt action can't get more accurate from that is one of the answers, right? Head and neck shots only, of course. Sam Culper says. So that's an interesting one. That's worth studying. That's worth looking into. That's definitely worth looking into. The accuracy of the .22 rifle. Bolt action .22 over the accuracy of God knows where you buy your air rifle and what you can do with it. Because I'm telling you, I've been thinking about this, guys. I've been really trying to think about, like, and I don't want this to turn into a gun show. It's first of all, I'm not well enough versed in the variety of weapons, which is one of the reasons why I'm always kind of whittling. I'm always whittling sort of the minimum necessary firearms to carry in a survival situation, because of the fact that A, I don't want to carry a bunch of guns or ammunition, and B, I just feel like there's a good trifecta. There's something. There's a magic little collection out there, you know, and I know that the 12 gauge shotgun is part of that collection. There's no doubt in my mind, right? Because once I get above like Beaver, I think you got to have something like that, right? I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to get into a big heated debate about what guns to carry and what not to, but Me Gray says you can reach 50 yards with no question. $300 Savage 22. You know, Savage, they're not bad. I've got a 30-06 Savage. Jay Fergie says a 12 gauge and a 270, great rifle. Culper recommends 1022. Yeah, that's a good gun. I'm a Ruger guy. I actually carry a Ruger daily. P95, big giant tank gun. Gun's ancient too. I probably am due for another, but I mean, the thing just works, you know. I had an issue with the extractor. I brought it home. I dealt with it, cleaned the gun real good. The thing fired like it was brand new. It's one of those things. But anyhow, way off and sidetracked there. But just something that I've been thinking about because of the fact that, God, even if you're not a good shot, I could carry. I wonder how much this weighs. I mean, this 500 pellets. This isn't 500 pellets anymore because my son and I have used some of them. But you're talking about being able to carry 2,000 pellets and, you know, not even really notice it. And it's just not the same with other ammunition. I mean, 22 LR I know it carries well. What is my dog doing? Oh, he's trying to get in the door upstairs. Lady Liberty has the door closed up there so she can actually sleep without listening to me bark the whole night. What else do we got? You want to move on to something? So knives are always one of those gifts, right, that you can get away with giving. They're always one of those gifts that you can get away giving. This knife that I'm going to show you, it's a beautiful part of me. It really is. And I've been badgering the people over at Arthos, and I don't even know what Arthos is as far as their size and scope. And does anybody know of Arthos knives? Do they use them? Are they popular? I really don't know. You know, I've talked to the Arthos people. I've threatened to have them on the show before, and we've talked a little bit, but nothing big. Well, I bought an Arthos to review it for a client of mine and to do a short review video, which is available up on YouTube actually. And I fell in love with this thing, man. I mean, this is my go-to knife now. This is the thing that like I said, I carry in the bag in the car when I go out and, you know, do some mountain trout fishing or do some hunting. This is what I put on my belt. It's the Arthos company makes some incredible knives, and I saw this thing from a distance, and for me, it just, when I see a blade built like this one, and just so for those of you who can't see the video, it's one of those good wide blade knives, right? Jimping on the back. It's the type of blade that I know I can do a lot with. You know, now I'm a big believer when it comes to the outdoors that I'm going to have a hatchet. I'm going to probably have some sort of a small tomahawk or axe if I'm going out to have a good time in the woods. It's just, you know, I carry what I love really is the Kershaw Siege, and I don't even know if you know what the Kershaw Siege is because they don't make it anymore, but it's, you know, you can get a good wood handle axe and do some work with it, but I'll tell you what, that Kershaw Siege it's a great weapon, it's a great tool. But anyway, G10 grips on the Arthos, they've got this great sort of almost wood grain, faux wood grain style look to it. It's a beautiful looking knife, and it's a knife that I think anyone would appreciate. Now, what makes it sort of this tactical preparedness gift is the Kydex holster. right? So you get this Kydex holster, clips onto the buckle on the back, and it's the first time I ever really played with a knife in a Kydex holster, right? And I really like it. You know, I really enjoy it. This guy clips right on the belt. But one of the things that comes along with it, with the matching G10 grip, is a little ferro rod, and it slips right into this. It slips right into this sort of flap, strap over. I guess it's a piece of leather. I'm not sure. No, it's a piece of plastic. It's a piece of Kydex. So it's this sort of rounded Kydex hole. And let me tell you something. You hook this knife to your if you hook this knife to your belt, not only are you never going to lose this knife, but there is no way. You can see on the video how tough it is to get this ferro rod out. So this is sort of my angle. My angle is, okay, I give you this beautiful knife and this beautiful case, this beautiful holster for it. But then we got to talk about this ferro rod, right? And once we start talking about ferro rods, well, then all sorts of comments come up, right? All sorts of conversation can be had if we're talking ferro rods. I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. But yeah, the Arthos, check it out. Like I said, I really just found this knife on Amazon, just scrolling through pages and pages of knives, looking for something legitimate that I could use, you know, out in the woods for bushcrafting and the like. And I'm always a fan of that nice wide blade, not too thick, not crazy. You know, this guy's about a 1/4 inch, something like that. Great knife. Great knife. And again, it comes with that, I'm running out of table space here. It comes with that great ferro rod that, you know, it's not my, if you really want to get into particulars, I'm just having a good time tonight. I hope you guys don't mind it. I'm kind of all over the place with content, and I'm just, whatever, right? Are we entertaining people, or what are we doing here? My supreme choice, actually, I don't have it with me, but one of my favorite ferro rods I actually have in my son's bag, because he's 7, and he can throw sparks, and he likes to throw sparks, and he's not had incredible success with it yet, and some of that has to do with me, but he's got really the best ferro rod in the house. He's got the nice thick, like 3/4 inch, maybe even close to an inch thick ferro rod with a good wood handle. Yeah, you just feel good when you hold that thing. What else? What else are we talking about tonight? I don't know if we go into steel cup. I've got an O-Light headlamp I want to talk to you about a little later. The chat room is looking great. Thanks for everybody showing up. Like, you know, we've got some, I think we even got Forrest Garvin with us tonight. Is that true? Preparedness, I see. Preparedness is something new you guys need to check out too. I don't want to botch your, well, let me just check it out myself. I think it's preparedness.com. I wrote an article today. I sent it into one of my clients' Backdoor Survival. And the article is all about what things are coming in 2019 for preppers. What's coming? You know, what are the things that are coming in 2019 regarding preppers, but both preppers as businessmen and preppers as, you know, just who we are. You know, so things that will affect the general pop, and things that will affect people who are also doing more than that in the prepping space. And one of the things, well, anyway, check out Preparedness.com. Go and check their website out. It's a new community that's coming online. They've got serious membership already from the conversation that I had with Forrest. They've got a podcast. They got a variety of memberships. They've got all kinds of cool tools. I mean, look. Yeah, they got training options up there. It's really cool, man. They've got a lot of good stuff up at Preparedness. So check them out, see what the deal is. It may be something you want to get involved in also. I'm no Yeah, I'm not terrified of anything that even is remotely close to, I guess, what some people would consider like competition. Because for me, the prepping community is a great community. It's a community that really, to be honest with you, welcomed me with open arms, even though I had, back in 2012, 2011, 2012, I had nothing to offer. I had nothing to offer anyone, really. Zero to offer. And this community took me in as the host of the I Am Liberty show. The fan base built around it, and it's been all she wrote since then. And I talk about it a lot, but it's worth mentioning again. There was a time when I ran from the name. There was a time when me and G-Man would have conversations about the name of the Prepper Broadcasting Network. He would call me up and he would say, he was really into this Red Beacon Media idea. This idea that, we're going to get away from prepping and prepper and all that, because it's been so vilified and so ruined. And in a larger scale, just preparedness in general has been so ruined. There have been these amazing moments in the short history of disaster preparedness in the modern age, and we, as a people, our government, we have squandered them all at every turn. At every turn. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal to watch. But hey, that's the deal. That's the deal. Who got the new chicken coop? Jay Fur got a new chicken coop? I like the sounds of it. Oh man, chickens are fun. Listen. Chickens have been tough on me, I'm not going to lie. I've gone through, I guess not though, right? I guess since April, what was it, around April of I want to say it was 2014 probably. I think my wife was pregnant. We had got our first batch of chicks, and we raised them, we put them in the box with the heat lamp, the whole nine, and we had them in the bathroom. And it was so fun. The kids, they just loved it. Well, the kid, there was only one then, but he just loved it. He would come home from preschool, or I don't remember what he was doing, if he was in school or preschool, and he would come home, and first thing he'd want to do is go in and check on him. We'd go look at him, and then they got big enough, to where they would fly around the bathroom, and they would just poop all over the bathroom. So we took them back, and we finally took them outside to their coop. And there's the rule in Virginia here in Richmond is, you can have up to 4. You can have 4 chickens. I'm in the city limits, so it's not a heartbreaker. And we fought for that 4. We didn't fight for the 4, but we fought for being able to keep 4 within a reasonable amount of space from the home. I didn't play a massive role in fighting for that, but I went to several meetings down in the city to talk to people and to just show support and be there, and to tell panels and other people who are in charge of zoning why it was that we wanted these chickens and why we wanted them to be not to be 100 yards away from any structure, which was the old zoning law. But one of the restrictions they held on us was that naturally, being in the city limits, they didn't want us to have any roosters, right? So we can't have any roosters naturally, because I don't know if you've ever had roosters, but they get busy early. I'm talking months old. They're already cock-a-doodling early, and it's brutal. And they do it all day. It's not a morning thing. You think that, okay, well, they're going to get it out of their system early and then they'll be done. At least the roosters that I had. So I wasn't allowed to keep any roosters, and I only had 6 chicks. I was only allowed to keep 4. And it turned out that 4 of the 6 were males. Of course. So here I am. I've got 2 chickens too many to begin with. So we're eating chicken. 2 chickens too many to begin with. 4 of them turn out to be males, so that leaves me with 2 chickens that could lay eggs. And that first batch, they really, they had a tough go of things, man. I just wound up slaughtering the majority of the males. We ate them. They were good. Not bad at all. It definitely helped out. You know, for those of you who haven't followed me for a long time, I was a chef for 10 years about, and you know, I could break down pretty much anything, but I haven't done a whole lot of gutting creatures. You know, you get these, even when we get big cuts of meat, it's already gutted and just ready to be broken down a quarter and that type of thing. So I was very comfortable with that, but it gave me some practice in sort of disemboweling the chicken before you break it down. That said, they're all gone. They're all dead. My sister's dog came down and just ran right. It was the first thing it did. It got in the yard. It ran right to one of the roosters and just shook it to death. I remember that. That was one of those things you won't soon forget. I wasn't even out back, but I remember hearing about it. I was inside preparing for probably my son's 5th birthday or something to that effect, 4th. And then we had the raccoon incident. They started disappearing. We had some raccoons, and we had an incident where one of the girls disappeared in a plume of feathers. We came out one day. See, I was being a very liberal and lackadaisical chicken owner with my first group, because it turned out they like to sleep on their coop more than they like to sleep in their coop. And me not knowing what really existed or what animals were capable of what things, for the longest time I let them, and then they all wound up getting the remaining 2 girls, right? The one just disappeared. We woke up one morning, there was just a big bunch of brown feathers. She was gone completely. And the sole survivor got injured by a raccoon, and I learned a lot. I can't say that it was the last time raccoons ate my chickens, though. That happened again about 2 months ago or something, 3 months ago. I had either a raccoon or a possum attack. But look, it's a great time. I'm telling you. They're fun. You let them out. They cluck around. You see them. They go all savage on your soil. And I don't know about you, but I take all that wonderful bedding and all that wonderful chicken manure and I throw it into the compost heap, and it doesn't get any better than that. You know, it really doesn't get any better than that. You really can do some serious feeding to your garden if you have that high nitrogen chicken manure in your compost. Of course, it has to be composted first, right? Because there's salmonella in them. There's salmonella in their intestinal tract, you know, and it's a big deal. You kill a little kid, you get a serious salmonella infection. It's not good. It's not good at all, and it can make you feel really bad too. That's one of those things that a lot of people were warning against, you know, and I never really had many issues with it, because one stint that I had in this crazy life is I used to teach food safety. So dealing with salmonella, dealing with raw chicken and that type of thing, you know, it's personal hygiene was always a big deal. So I've always made the kids wash their hands after they play with them or after they go collect the eggs, that whole thing. But apparently that salmonellosis was a big deal. That salmonella was spreading to these throngs of people who decided that they wanted backyard chickens too. Yeah, we want some backyard chickens. And they got them. But they got other stuff too along with them. And it can happen. It can happen easy. You know, it's all a matter of how much bacteria winds up in there. That's a good one, Gray. That's a good one. I'm glad to hear it, Ferg. You're going to love them chickens. That's awesome. That's a good time. There's nothing more exciting than when you go out there and you see the eggs and everything. Because I eat eggs every morning. Every morning I eat eggs. Like 3 eggs a day. Every day. I don't know what it's going to do. Really, I don't. But I know here's the thing. I can cook French toast. I can cook pancakes. I can eat cereal. I can eat oatmeal. I feel like eggs have to be about your best. They have to be about your best option for starting the day. I don't know if there can be anything better, right? It's like, let me give my body this massive rush of nutrition, right? Healthy fats, good protein, the cleanest protein I'm going to get. I mean, I can't go outside and slaughter a cow, and I don't have a freezer full of venison that I could make into breakfast sausage. This is not where I'm at right now. But I could throw 3 of those eggs in the pan in a little coconut oil, and, you know, you feel like the Hulk after you eat those things. So what else do we got going on in the world, besides the fact that the socialists are taking over? Besides the fact that the stock market's getting ready to crash? Besides the fact that we have no way to stop the flood of illegal immigrants coming into this nation? And, you know, don't worry. Everything will be fine. They're not going to do anything wrong. Right? They're coming here to work. They're coming here to the racist, white-dominated America to work because it's such a racist, white-dominated nation. Doesn't make sense, does it? That's the line, though. That's the socialist line. That's what they'll tell you, right? America's mean and nasty, and white people are no good, and they rule everything, and it's a really bad place. But by golly, everybody wants to come here. I can't quite understand it. You know? I feel like it would be, I feel like there would be piles of burning dead bodies on the Texas border if America was half as racist as people accuse us of being, right? Flying Dutchman says, it puts a stat into the chat room that I can only repeat as something that he put in the chat room because I do not have the ability to verify it at the moment, but he says 63% of illegals are on welfare. But hey, they're here to make the nation a better and less white place. Listen, that might make you sound, that makes people uncomfortable when I say stuff like that. They email me about it, right? Sam Culper verifies it. He verifies the fact that 63% of all illegals are on welfare. It's a big number, man. It's a big number, and it's something that nobody is going to talk about in the media. You know what I mean? It's just nobody's going to cover a stat like that. And that's what makes them so weak, and that's why they're burning up. That's why they're burning it up and passing out of existence, because there's no reporting. There's no reporting going on. And I don't want to beat a drum that everybody beats, but that's just the reality, man. Right? That's just the reality. It's just the reality. You watch the world, you watch the way of the world, and you know exactly what's coming. Are there going to be some kids and some wives and some people who come over and do the right thing and enjoy themselves and be participating Americans? Yes, there are. Sure there are. They're going to do it illegally, and that's a problem. But maybe they do the right thing. The problem is not that. The problem is the fact that just like in Germany, like I talked about at the head of the show, right? A certain percentage are going to go the way of the worst. They're going to go the way of the worst. And there's going to be death, and there's going to be blood, and there's going to be... And of course, the big problem is it's going to be American blood. It's going to be your family who's affected. It's going to be you who loses someone you love. And the worst part about all that is you never got to vote. You never got to vote for anything. We never had the option. I can't figure out why we never get the option, why we can't say, okay, do we want to put the Coast Guard, do we want to put the National Guard, do we want to put whatever on the border with Mexico and stop immigration? Vote yes, vote no, ballot initiative. Very simple question, right? It's a very, very easy question. But then you start to understand that it's a lot deeper than that. In other words, in order for a social revolution to take place, the kind that is currently taking place, the kind that is one of the preeminent threats to our civil society, is happening every day, all around us, in the news, in the highest reaches of government. And, they make fun of preppers. They make fun of preppers. When you see what's going on in this nation, it's mind-boggling. So here's the article Sam posts up from the WashingtonExaminer.com. Census confirms 63% of non-citizens on welfare, 4.6 million households. Or is that 46 million households? It might be 46 million households. Non-citizens. That's one of those interesting words. Dutchman says we voted for a wall, but the D.C. establishment doesn't care. Doesn't care. D.C. doesn't care. Did you do that on purpose? Dutchman doesn't care. D.C. Washington doesn't care. That's an interesting play on words that I don't even know if you meant to do or not. I mean, it's real. It's real. The fact that people are coming to this nation, they're illiterate in their own language, right? That's an amazing one. It's a wild thing to watch. And I have to give people more credit because I think more people know about these things than they lead us to believe. But the reality is, I mean, you want to know what the real reality is when you really get down to it? I can sit here and do this show and pretend like I'm a radio guy and that I have information about some weird conspiracy within the government. And of course there are. There's as much corruption in the government as there is in anything. There's as much corruption in the government now than there was forever, right? That's power. That's power. But at the end of the day, really, at the end of the day, until people are pushed far enough, and maybe they never get pushed far enough, I don't know. I think about myself, I mean, that's what you really need to do. You really think about yourself. It's like I can sit here and badmouth people and say, God, I can't believe the world's falling apart. But what the hell am I doing? I've not been to, I mean, I went to a few protests in my life, but nothing recently. Right? I'm not out lobbying for anything good for this country. I do this show and I do what I do with the prepping niche in the market, and that's what I do. I'm not somebody who's making a big, huge difference trying to change the fact that it seems that the conservative movement in the nation, it seems that the people who would stand against a socialist overhaul, which is what's happening even with Donald Trump as president, it seems that the majority of us are just standing still while the progress is being owed to the progressives. It's just what I see. I don't see standouts, on the right side of things, making headlines, changing things, changing policy. I mean, you have what is likely the last of the last for the conservative movement. I mean, if I don't know. That's the sort of, that's kind of that was the beauty and the risk of Donald Trump, right? It's like when you drop the atomic bombs. He was essentially an atomic bomb. It was like, let's make sure that they surrender, because I don't think we're ever going to be able to use these things again. And I feel like I don't know. But the reality of it is this: people can't lose their jobs, man. You can't go into work and start espousing the fact that you're a prepper, and B, you don't like all this Ocasio-Cortez and this socialist revolution that's happening in the nation. What would happen if you went into your job tomorrow and you started belting out at people? What would happen if you went to the supermarket and you started yelling at people about, what the hell are you talking about with this Hillary Clinton bumper sticker? What are you, a moron? What would happen? The risks would be what? Right? The risks are what? The risks are you lose your job. Maybe you get in a fight, you get thrown into jail, you lose your job. Now what? Where's all the conservative talk radio hosts at? Where are they at? Who's gonna come rescue you? That's at the end of the day, I really think that's it, right? If you're a person of integrity, you know you've got to keep a job, you know you've got to pay the bills, and unfortunately that comes first, right? That comes first. You can't just, for the average American, you can't just go out there and get crazy the way these Antifa professors and college students can. The way the French did. Tell you what, the French, they went crazy. Men, working men, showed up with their yellow things on, and they started going nuts. I guess it is possible. But at the end of the day, you know, you got to remember, well, Jay Fergie says it, we have lives and families to take care of, right? That's the reality. The reality is we have responsibilities. And when you look at society that way, it's weird because you start to think, okay, if that's the scenario, right? If that's the scenario, if the people with lives and families are constrained, then does civilization just go the way of the people who don't have lives and families? The people who have nothing to lose? They govern the direction of the nation because they have the ability to get out there and do it, and they don't have to worry about the repercussions. Oh, it's a twisted situation, man. It really is. It's an absolutely twisted situation. It's one of those things you can spend your whole life thinking about. You could spend your whole life thinking about it, wondering about it. How does it all go down? How does it all end up? Unfortunately, folks, it only looks like it can end one way, and that is another massive loss of life, another radical revolution. It just feels like that. I mean, who and how, who stops it? Right? Who stops it is the question. How does it stop? How does this wave of socialist mentality stop? College, right? People start to see through the veneer of college. That'll help. If they're not going into college to be brainwashed, that could be a big help. And I can't see college being this super exciting opportunity for a lot of people moving forward. Because I think most people are hip to the fact that, like, starting life with $80,000 to $125,000 in debt is not the best way to start a life. Right? That's a real problem. That's a real struggle, particularly if we get to the point where it's even harder to get a job or a good job. What happens when automation comes in? I don't know. We've got a lot of problems. I don't want to sit here and harp on them all. Let's talk about the Konnex. So for the longest time, I didn't carry one of these. I didn't carry a shovel for the longest time. And it was one of those things that was always on the back of my mind. You know, it was like, what am I going to do? There's going to be a situation. There's going to be something. And this guy was it was an TAC product. And let me be honest with you about this company. They make a lot of crap. I'm being honest. You know, they make a lot of junk. I've seen it. I've touched it. I have some of it still. They make something called the TAC. I want to say it's called the TAC Light, but there's so many damn products. It's almost impossible to remember them all. What is it called? The TAC Light. I think it is the TAC Light. And the TAC Light is maybe one of the biggest jokes I've ever seen in my whole life. I think I just loosened this thing the wrong way. I most certainly did. The TAC Light is like this spiky baton / flashlight that the first time I touched it, I said, this right here, this thing will break within the first 6 hours of me doing anything with it. It's a guarantee. I could go grab it if you want to see it. It's hilarious. I got sent some products from TAC, and one of the guys that I was working for was like, I'd really like you to review this. And I took about 5 minutes with it, and I said, unless you want an overwhelmingly horrendous review, I can't review this because this thing is brutal. But the Konnex right here is not that. It is one of these weird gadgets, right? Look, we have a compass on the bottom. We've got these things, right? Everybody wants to put these hex bolts in everything. I don't understand the excitement about it. It's like, how many situations have I been in my life where I've run into, if I only had a hex wrench, if I only had this size hex wrench, I'd be okay. There's a bunch of stuff on the front too. There's like a ruler and that type. Listen, none of that is really why I got into this thing. I got into this thing, number one, because I didn't have a shovel, right? And I said to them, there's also this cool little ferro rod that goes inside. The whole design behind the Konnex, the bottom of it screws out. And like I said, what I have locked in there right now is just another ferro rod. I'm a ferro fiend, okay? It's just one of those things, you know, they're very reliable. There's no reason not to have a bunch of them. Oh yeah, and it has one of these like pretend saws on the side of it too, like you're gonna saw something with this. I don't know. You know, I guess if you were in the worst situation of your life and you had no other options, you could use this as a saw. It's definitely better than nothing. The teeth are relatively sharp. But anyway, this is one of the few saws, or one of the few shovels rather, that you can pack into your bag. And this other little bag of attachments will turn this thing into about a 4-foot shovel. Maybe 3, probably like a 3-foot shovel. And to me, that's just good enough. You know, that's good enough to warrant the weight. Now, it's one of these, it's made of, the shovel itself is made of steel, but the handle is one of these, like, you know how they describe the aluminum. They talk about, like, it's aircraft grade, 6,000, yada, 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 aluminum. Like, it's just aluminum. You know what I'm saying? It's not, what they should say is it's not steel, okay? That's what it is. It's not steel. And that's fine. You know the limitations of your gear, you can work with it. But yeah, for me, this was a thing about convenience, and it just made sense. You know what I mean? At the time, it came across the desk. I did a review on it. I actually liked how it performed, both as a shovel and, you know, the few other things. There's also a blade attachment in one of them also. But it's a cool little item, right? The Konnex, it's called, Konnex. Another one of those weird little gifts that starts conversations. You know, it's one of those weird gifts. Like, what am I doing? You can dig cat holes with it if you go camping. But it's also got a ferro rod in there. It's got a compass in there. It's got some blades in there. But the coolest thing about the Konnex, again, you can extend that baby to about 3 feet. And really, really shovel. You know, I mean, you're not going to dig through sod or anything like that with it. It would probably bend or break, but it's a good time. It's a good time, no doubt about it. So, Meat Gray says, good for mud, sand, or light snow. Yeah, exactly. You can do something like that. I mean, you could get through some clay, I'm sure, if you needed to. I don't know how much of a beating she would take, but I can tell you right now, if you're looking for something to pack in a bag, you know, something lightweight to pack in a bag, it's my choice. I'll tell you that right now. I'm really interested in this market's plunge headline here. It's one of those things though. The average person, they just fall asleep, and it's already 10:30 p.m. anyway, so it's hard to say like 10:30 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Let's get into the economy. And then there's good old communist Cuba. Look at this great headline. This is a good one. We spend half the show talking about socialism and why it's scary and why it's led to communism and why it's killed, how many countless millions of people, tens of millions of people. This is even better. Over at Breitbart, Cuba blames Trump for bread, egg, meat, and rice shortages before the new year. Miguel Diaz, Miguel, is having some trouble over there. The impact of the embargo, which is strengthened under the Trump administration. is why they don't have any bread or eggs or other basic goods. Has nothing to do with their style of living and their style of government, right? Nothing to do with that at all. The lack of wheat flour has triggered a nationwide bread shortage. Cubans typically have access to two types of bread: small, low-quality buns that are unrationed and edible loaves of bread that each family's ration book limits the purchase of depending on family size. Ah, the wonders of communism. Honey, I'd love to make you a sandwich, but, it looks like the old ration book is full. Blasted capitalism. The traditional Cuban flour cracker can cost as much as $1 each, or 25 Cuban pesos. The government pays doctors a salary of 64 pesos, or nearly 3 crackers a month. America is the most evil place in the world, isn't it? Isn't it just an evil place? It's an amazing thing to me, really. It's an amazing thing to me. That people buy it. That people buy into it. That they think that that they think that somebody's going to take all the money. Listen, here's my plan. I'm going to have a socialist revolution, okay? I'm going to take all the money, and I'm going to divide it up equally between people. And all those people, when they get that money, are going to do the right thing because they're getting money divvied up from other people. And then you read that 63% of illegals are getting money for nothing already anyway. My money, your money. Right? I've got to have a separate account that I can stow away all the tax money that I have to pay on my business at the end of the year. Right? You get a check every week, and it says income tax, Social Security, and it all just comes out of the pocket. What could you do with that money? What would you do with that money? Look at my beautiful tree in the back. We got a Leland cypress this year. We never got a cypress before. But this year we got a Leland cypress. It looks like something out of the Grinch, which is very fitting, right? But like I said, who buys into this? There's people out there who buy into this thing. And the same people that buy into that are I have a sense that they're the same people that would laugh at preppers. It's the same type of mindset. It's this fantasy, right? Some brilliant person's going to take all the money and I'm going to give this to this people and this to this people and this to that people. No, I'm not going to give it to those people because they have enough money. So how much is enough money? Nobody knows how much enough money is because enough money is bullshit. There's no such thing as enough money. It's a free country. But they think that they're gonna pass all this money out just perfectly and everyone's going to be happy and America's not going to be such a mean and nasty place that oppresses minorities and holds poor people down under a hammer of wealth. I can't figure it out. I really can't figure it out. But here's the problem. Here's the big problem. It's all fun and games until it goes too far. And it's getting there. It's getting damn close. It's all fun and games. You can get up on here and I can have a good time and I can poke fun at Bernie Sanders, the silly young Cortez, and I can poke fun at these young socialist kids, but comedy hour comes to an end eventually. Eventually people are going to start making very real decisions. Eventually, people on the side of the socialist progressive movement are going to get enough power to make a difference for their cause. And people on the opposite side are going to have enough. They're going to reach a breaking point, just like the people in France, just like anybody who has to take care of another man with his own money. It's just how it goes. You reach a breaking point. How long can Netflix keep putting series out that keep us at bay? How many smartphones can they produce to keep us dumbed down and at bay, How long? How long can they keep the people who pay for it all satisfied in a way that they decide that maybe we won't retaliate. Maybe we'll just sit here in front of our computers and listen to this show, or sit here and yell about it, or blog about it, or whatever it is that we do. That's going to happen. That's coming. Then the bodies start to pile up. And then this thing goes from being a comedy sketch to being one of the great disasters of our history. I mean, can you imagine in America at each other's throats? Can you imagine what the most armed population in history having some form of a strange, segmented civil war in the streets would look like? I think at the end of the day, people don't really understand what's at risk. I think that's one of the big problems. They don't really understand all that is at risk. And there's so much at risk. You look at, if you have kids, it's very easy. If you have children, it's pretty simple, right? You look at them and you say, I want the future to work for them, right? I want them to have opportunities. I don't want them to inherit a third world cesspool of a nation that made decisions based on their heart instead of their head, right? Bring them in. They're struggling. We need to help everyone. We're America. I mean, you can radically change a nation very quickly, And the most scary thing of all is you bring them in and you teach them. What's the first thing you teach them? It's the white guy's fault. Don't vote for him. It's his fault. He didn't want you here anyway. He's racist. He's racist. He doesn't like people that look like you. He doesn't like your kids. He doesn't want you to have the right to vote. That's why he wants this strange voter ID thing. The idea that we don't have voter ID blows my mind. Listen, I don't want to sit here and go down a political tirade. We only got through a few things, a few little tactical gifts. I've got a bunch of other stuff here on the table. I've got a stainless steel cup, some Progresso soup in it. I've got a great O-Light headlamp that I think is one of my favorite things. Let me get you the make and model of that, because that's a damn good little affect. The O-Light H1 Nova. It's a headlamp compatible flashlight that also just turns into a flashlight itself. But it has a headlamp connection. Headband, rather, that the light sort of affixes to. How do we end a show like this? This is probably the most fun, I'll be honest with you, that I've had doing the I Am Liberty show in a month. Not that I haven't been having fun, but I really do enjoy just cutting the horses loose. Just cutting the horses loose. And there was a part of me, there is a big part of me that says, can you do this and do prepper broadcasting at the same time in the way you want to do it? Right? Like, can you be James Walton and talk about things like the attack on whiteness, talk about things like the illegal immigration problem? I guess I have to remain true to myself no matter what, because that's got me this far. And I guess I also have to come to the fact that I have to come to terms with the fact that there are people who are going to be scared off, and we're not going to be the resource for them. So in a way, you want prepper broadcasting to reach as many people as you can. Right? You want as many people as you can to hear the shows, to get the information on the website, and to get prepared for disasters that have nothing to do with politics, that have nothing to do with socialism, that have nothing to do with the nightmare that is taking place in this nation right now. Right? The man behind Antifa has been unmasked, and he roams freely in the streets after threatening death to the rich. But outside of all that, you just want people to get food, water, power, first aid, security. You want them to have these things. You want everyone to have these things. So I'm sitting on that fence right now. But the big problem is, and I hope this doesn't hurt the other hosts, the big problem is I can't do anything but what I do on the I Am Liberty show. Like, I can't tone it down. I can't turn it into some PC 2-hour-long show where I just talk about food storage, and I can't do it. Nor should I do it. Nor should I do it, because these are real threats. If you don't think the socialist progressive movement is a real threat to the civility of this nation, to the prosperity of this nation, you're crazy. If you don't think having a southern border that's wide open to disease, to pandemic possibility, that's wide open to crime, that's wide open to drugs, that's wide open to an absolute collapse of the governmental structure, by being able to buy your way into the office through appeasing illegal immigrants who can come in and vote without an ID. If you don't think these will have disastrous, or are already having disastrous effects on this nation, you're crazy. So if we're really going to sit down and we're going to talk about preparing for disasters, then I guess we have to make people uncomfortable. Right? I guess we have to be comfortable with making people uncomfortable. And I think those of you out there listening, those of you who listen to the I Am Liberty show, I think you understand that you as Americans, you find yourselves uncomfortable a lot of the time. Right? And in fact, some of my best thoughts, achievements, and all that come from when I'm most uncomfortable. So, yeah, that's it. Listen, folks, I'm not going to see you till after Christmas. I will not see you until after Christmas. I will not talk to you. Well, I might throw some stuff up on Instagram and that type of thing, but we're not going to have a long, drawn-out conversation until literally the day after Christmas. So I think it's important, right? What is Christmas? Christmas is fundamental to American culture. A Merry Christmas is fundamental to American culture. I don't care how you celebrate or don't celebrate. If you do, it's the birth of Jesus Christ, and that means something. That means something. In a nation like ours, that is majority Christian. It might not seem like it, might not feel like it's because so many people hate that fact. But this is a Christian nation, period. America is a Christian nation. There's a reason why it's such a great place. It's not by accident, folks. All right? Now we can look at that, and we can think about it a number of different ways. Right? But what's most important is when I think about Jesus and I think about what the birth of Jesus Christ did to the world, flash forward 2018 years, it reaffirms what I just said to myself, right? To the struggle that I've been having. What is Jesus Christ but the truth incarnate? What is Jesus if not the truth itself, right? If not the strength to stand for the truth. The truth itself, the strength to stand for the truth, and the strength to recognize what needs to happen in your own life. What needs to die and be reborn in your own life, right? That's for me, from what I've read, from what I've learned, that's really what Jesus Christ means to me. That's really what it means to me. That's what I'll be thinking about after all the presents are opened and the kids are busy and the wife is happy and the breakfast is cooked. I'll be sitting there Christmas morning and I'll be thinking to myself, nothing has ever changed the world the way this has. No matter what. I mean, no matter what you think happened or didn't happen. Well, some people say he wasn't even born on Christmas. Who cares? no matter what you have to say about Christianity, it all goes back to where we're at right now in a society, in the greatest society, in the greatest nation on the planet. So good that even though it's filled with racist white people who hate everyone and want to oppress everyone, we can't keep people out of the nation. We can't keep them out. We got to build walls to keep them out. Right? What do you think, that happened by accident? It happened because the nation was built on the backbone of Christianity. So open your presents, eat your ham, enjoy yourself. Know that I love you guys, literally. Okay? There's no, I mean, that just is what it is. Take it how you want it. Okay? My listening audience, it's more than just I like you. It's more than just thank you, all right? There's love there. It's an overwhelming feeling for me to see you guys here on a weekly basis, to see the support, to be a man who lives the life that I live, and to have had the opportunities that I've had. That's it. That's it. Follow the truth. Have the audacity to stand for the truth, and have the courage to be reborn. Right? To let the bad things die off in you and be reborn. That's the lesson of Jesus Christ to me. I don't know how you look at it, but that's how I look at it. Till next time, folks. Look, hug those that are important to you. Love those that are important to you. It's James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show. Have yourself a merry little Christmas in just 5 days, all right? I'll try to get a little something out maybe between then and, but if not, you guys have made this thing for me, all right? So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. That's it. That was fun, guys. I don't know who's watching, but that was a good time. I was about to shut it off. I kind of forgot you were there for a little while. I hope I wasn't picking my nose. 10:48. The I Am Liberty Show comes to a close. It's been a long one. It's been a long day. What do I got? Can I show you guys something? Who's stuck around? I don't know if I have anything else secret. Secret in the old V-locks. Oh, that's what I forgot to talk about. I forgot to talk about Craig Avery's incredible survival kit, the MHA Bushcrafter. You gotta check out the review. I did a review on the MHA Bushcrafter on this channel, on the I Am Liberty channel, so check that out. Let me make sure we're done here. That MHA Bushcrafter, man, it's not one of these tactical things. It's not one of these wild survival kits that, like, you know, makes you crazy or makes you feel like you're crazy, but it's one of these things that it really makes a difference. And it makes a difference because it has, first of all, it's in a steel bottle about this size, right? Big shout out to 3V Gear, by the way, one of my favorite companies. It's in a steel bottle and it's got all the things that you can need for a wilderness adventure, right? If something were to go wrong. And man, it's a great kit. It's a well thought out kit. The products in it are great. And if you want to have a tactical preparedness gift giving option, that's one of them. That's definitely one of them. But I got to go to bed. I'm tired. All right? See you guys soon.